Brand new 4x4s most certainly don't come around every day. So when Ford's Aussie-engineered Everest landed in my driveway, it demanded I do something special. The idea came to me to build a beach tourer, something that could be used as a daily driver but also burn up your nearest stretch of sand, even if that sand happens to be a Birdsville sand dune. Last episode I took you through the build of my Ford Ranger Outback tourer, but this time we're taking a different tack, using products more suited to a weekender. Like last time, I'm not just interested in the gear I'm bolting on, I'll be delving into the stories of the Aussies that engineer these accessories, because without them, well, 4x4 life wouldn't be half as fun. Introducing the next-gen V6 Everest Sport. And here she is. Take a good long look, because give me a few weeks in the workshop and this mild-mannered SUV will turn into a fully certified beach touring machine. In 4x4 terms, Ford have literally thrown the kitchen sink at this vehicle. I mean, for starters, it's running a 3-litre V6. That means it's got 2 more cylinders than most of its competitors. She's running coil springs all round. They've bumped up the towing capacity to 3.5 tonnes and even thrown in an electronic brake controller as standard. But if you're going off-road, sometimes you want to see the rocks and the things that are right in front of your vehicle, and sometimes it's hard to spot, but they've thrown a little camera, a forward-facing camera, so you can see exactly what's going on. But hey, that could get a little bit muddy and dirty out the front of your car. Well, Ford have fixed that too, with a nice little spray jet of water to clean your screen when it gets muddy. Now, you might think that being a Ford, the next-gen Everest would have been designed over in Detroit. But no, in fact, Melbourne was where the engineering and design was based. I caught up with Chief Platform Engineer Ian Foston to find out where it all started.
So the team in Melbourne are kind of like what we call the lead engineering centre, and then we kind of use expertise from our colleagues in the US and sometimes in Europe as well to help us out with some of the things like the detailed engine work or transmission work. The Everest, though, it's such a fantastic product. It's probably been the unsung hero of our range over the last few years, but we're really seeing it take off. You know, customers are now resonating more with it. So for me, the 3 things I would say, the increased towing capacity on this next-gen product going to 3.5 tonnes, and that coupled with the technology like trailer sway control. We've now got Bliss with trailer assist as well. All those kind of features to enable you to tow safely. That's probably the one feature I love and I think customers really value. I think the second one is really the engine. I think customers told us they wanted a more capable, torquey, powerful engine. So introducing the 3-litre single turbo, 600 Newton meters of torque, it really is a beast. So it can go anywhere you want it to go. And then the third thing for me is probably the comfort of the vehicle. So we've really worked hard on the kind of noise, vibration and harshness, trying to make it a quiet place inside and making it almost like a sanctuary that your family can go into and really travel in comfort. So when you get to your destination, you feel refreshed. We talked to customers again about the vehicle's capability. I think on the previous generation, the one thing we wanted to do was to show people that the outside was tough and capable, just as much as actually the technology under the vehicle was. So for us, it was really a natural step. It was making it aggressive, it was making those wheels further outboard, making that wheelbase a bit longer, making it feel really planted, that it can actually go where you want it to go. So really to me, it was kind of just a natural progression of the demonstrating the capability of the product through what it looks like, yeah. So it's actually an all new frame on this product. We've actually stretched the wheelbase by 50 millimeters and stretched the track width by 50 millimeters. The actual frame itself is approximately the same size, and we've actually tried to keep the vehicle dimensions the same size as well. So it actually looks more imposing. We've squared off the edges, we've given more space in the interior, made it look tough, but actually the general dimensions, the width, the height, is actually very, very similar to what it is today. I think with the Everest, we were really conscious that we wanted to take it to the next level. Toyota are very strong in this segment all around the world, and we wanted to make sure we had a very compelling proposition to take on Toyota, clearly. But we also looked at kind of crossover segments, and there are certainly some more luxury vehicles. They may not be body on frame, they may be unibody, but they certainly have great credentials off-road. and people use them for adventures, so we wanted to make sure that we were really thinking about how we could, resonate with those customers as well.
In order to provide greater appeal to the 4x4 market, Ford worked with ARB to produce a whole range of accessories for the Everest, accessories that you could choose to buy from your Ford dealer. But it went much deeper than that. Ford worked with ARB to engineer the vehicle to be easier to accessorise. So, rather than being stuck with the vehicle to accessorise, they made modifications at the design phase to make things like bull bars and side steps and under-vehicle protection easier to mount.
ARB, they are an awesome company. I can't say enough good things about them. They produce really good quality accessories, and I've used a lot of them on my own trucks over the years. And working with them was really saying, well, we need a partner who understands how people take their vehicles off-road and go on adventures, whether it's just going to the bush for the weekend or going on a proper adventure to Cape York or something. So they're a great partner, and we said to them, what can we do to make sure that the base truck, all those kind of chassis parts, where they fit their bull bars, making sure it's been engineered to fit those parts on. So this is why we've done this co-development process with them, all through the underbody and upper body phases, to make sure we've got all the provisions on the vehicle. Great examples, we've got holes in the frame to actually fit kind of their rock rail straight on. So it's been a great exercise to work with them and actually just integrate their their parts into our design as we went along. Much easier than producing the car, giving it to ARB and saying, well, tell us what doesn't work. So it's been a really great partnership with that company, yeah.
On that note, I thought I'd better look a little bit closer at ARB, a company that started in a back shed in Melbourne in 1975, and last time I looked, they had a market cap of around 2.6 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B. A fella called Tony Brown started it all, and was soon joined by his brothers.
I caught up with one of the next generation of the family and thought we might jump in a Ranger to talk shop.
So Danny, the ARB story starts about 1975. How exactly did the company start?
My uncle Tony, so he was a bit of an enthusiast. He was heading off on a trip up the Cape and couldn't find anyone decent to build a roof rack, so went ahead and knocked it up himself. And sort of started from there, as a lot of companies do now. They start in a shed at home. So and then you got my uncle Roger, who's involved as well, and my dad Andy. So Dad's a pretty hands-on guy. He's sort of fabricator and mechanic by trade. So they all jumped in and helped each other out, and as I say, the rest is history.
And it's a pretty interesting history too, because the expansion of the company has been pretty incredible over the last decade or so.
It's a bit of luck. It's really good management. It's doing things at the right time, being financially responsible. These kind of things you can come and go in a blink of an eye, as we see with a lot of companies these days.
What do you think you've done for the customers over the years that has let ARB sort of rise above the pack?
I think it's the main thing is the quality product. For me, when I go buy a product, I want to make sure it's quality. I want to make sure I know what I'm getting, I know what I'm paying for. And I think that one of the main things is warranty too, and especially with four-wheel drive gear. I mean, the people that buy our products, a lot of the time, they might be heading off on a once-in-a-lifetime trip, saved a lot of money, want to deck out their car properly, and head off to some of the great locations Australia has to offer. So to be able to go out there and be confident that the gear is going to make the distance, and hey, if something does fail, there is a store nearby. There's going to be no questions asked. They're going to do everything they can in their power to get you back on the road and keep you enjoying your holiday.
Is there one or two products that really sort of, I guess, gave ARB a leg up that the market just kind of loved and helped you guys springboard to the next step?
Yeah, I definitely think it's the bull bar. In Australia, we have the wildlife we have and the remote locations we have. The bull bar was a necessary component for four-wheel drive.
Manufacturing always started in Australia and it's gone abroad since. But is there some products that you're still making here?
Yeah, a lot. We develop pretty much, I'd say 90% of the products here now. So there's still huge development at our Melbourne factory. All the Ford Ranger stuff was developed here. We do all the prototyping, all the engineering. We build the first samples. We make sure everything can be done properly and to our standard, using the materials, the high quality materials that we use. So we just make sure everything's done properly here. Not that it can't be done overseas, but it's a lot easier for us to be able to, make any quick changes, assessments with our engineering team that are here.
I then asked Danny what it feels like to have seen the company grow to where it is today.
Yeah, you're really proud. I mean, you drive around, you're always seeing the little logo on the cars, and you just know that it's a quality product. And I've been there pretty much my whole life, so I've seen the amount of blood, sweat and tears that's gone in behind the scenes, and the amount of hours. It's just absolutely ridiculous. The lengths that they've gone to make sure that the lights stay on and product keeps rolling out and things keep going.
What are some of the specifics for that end user that is considering walking into a Ford dealer and ticking the boxes on the ARB catalogue? Why should they do that?
Well, not only can they roll it all if they've got a loan or on a lease plan, not only can they roll everything into that, but you're still getting your Ford factory 5-year warranty, which is unheard of for a OE manufacturer to do that with aftermarket accessories. So again, instills the trust that Ford has with us, and how it's been engineered collaboratively so that they're satisfied that the vehicles will perform as intended with our products attached.
With a design and engineering team of almost 60 and a workforce of over 2,100 worldwide, ARB is not what you'd call small fry. But the factory here is not fancy colour-coded or anodised like the products they build. It's gritty and grimy. In fact, it feels every bit as if it's on a mission. And that mission is to quench not just Australia's but the world's thirst for incredible quality 4x4 products. It's not just bull bars that come out of here. Air compressors are manufactured in Kilsyth too, and almost definitely need one of those in my Ranger. I stuck my ample nose into the compressor production line to see what it's like to bolt these beauties together.
Can I just interrupt you there for a second?
Yeah, of course. Hi.
Hi, my name's Pat.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Bree.
Good to meet you, Bree. Bree, this is the first time that I think I've actually spoken to someone that is making a part for my actual four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
This is a cool thing. So,
Yeah.
Have you been here for long?
Yeah, I've been here since the start of the year now, January. Yeah, so only just learnt all the jobs though. So yeah.
Oh, nice one. And so, what goes into your role here?
Well, I mainly do assembly of air compressors and also packing them off ready for our clients to send off. So they're my main two jobs, making all the parts and putting everything together, basically the last steps.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And do you tend to rotate around the roles, or you do the one thing?
Yeah. We usually move around the U-shape during the day, move from station to station, yeah.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's pretty good, keeps me on my toes, so not mad now that I know what I'm doing, so.
Awesome. Well, thank you kindly for
That's
making
all
my
right.
compressor. I'm happy. I've met someone
You're
that's actually
welcome.
making some cool bits for my car. So.
No problem.
Coming up next, we start to bolt some seriously cool goodies onto the Everest.
Every four-wheel driver knows that filtration is the key to longevity out there in the bush. So I'm here at Ryco headquarters to sort out my rigs.
These days, Ryco are well known for their automotive filter ranges, from air, fuel and oil, to oil separators and cabin filters. All gear that's going in my Everest, but that's left me wondering where and when the Ryco story started. So I asked engineering boss Alistair Hampton.
The earliest origins of Ryco date back to 1936. Back then it was originally an importation business, but quickly turned into manufacturing around 1950 when Ford actually needed to source filters locally. The first two filters we actually started making were the Z9 and the Z10.
Oh wow, okay. And you guys currently engineer and design your entire range here in Melbourne?
Absolutely. Everything that we range gets developed here in our Melbourne facility. All the parts are validated here in our labs, and we have got two labs. We've got a wet lab and the dry lab, which is what we're standing in right now.
Okay, Alistair, mate, I have a brand new Everest V6. What sort of filtration should I throw in there?
Well, you're going to need the works. You'll absolutely need, as the first line of defence, one of our air filters. These will well and truly exceed OE efficiency, so I'd thoroughly recommend a quality air filter. That'll stop the contamination getting in the first place. Then on the oil side, cleaning up anything that does get in, you'll want a synthetic oil filter. one of our Syntec filters that'll help clean up any contaminants that do end up in the engine, keep the internals nice and clean. On the fuel, the primary filter, we have a 4 micron fuel filter, which will make sure that your injector life and spray pattern stays where it needs to be. Make sure that engine runs efficiently.
And crankcase filter as well. Why do I need one of those?
Well, for really good engine longevity and performance over time, the crankcase filter will make sure that the oil droplets coming out of the crankcase PCV system won't contaminate your air intake system, contaminate your intercooler, and mix with that EGR gas and causing that cholesterol to build up in the air intake system. So make sure that you're maintenance free and that the engine's running efficiently for its life.
Now, as is often the case with industry leaders, they don't sit still for long. So I asked Alistair if anything new was on the cards.
This particular crankcase filter has the capability of bypassing internally. We used to have the external relief valve on the side of the unit. We've now made an internal relief system. So if this crankcase filter gets blocked, which they will over time from the soot and coming out of the emission system, this crankcase filter will bypass its own filter internally. It also features a service indicator that pops up when the filter becomes blocked, so that the customer knows that the filter's actually blocked and they need to service the filter.
But I also got the scoop on another new product, one that I think four-wheel drivers will love.
So we're now getting close to launching a fuel water sensor, and that's so that rather than having to check the bowl on these fuel water separators, we're going to have a sensor that will actually detect the signs of water very early on in the fuel. We've elected to go with an electronic resistance-based sensor, which is far more sensitive than the typical OE float sensors that you get in OE systems. So we believe our sensor will trigger much more early when there's water in the fuel. We've also developed our sensor to work wirelessly, so it works over Bluetooth. It means that we can offer an app on the phone, or we also plan to offer a in-cabin module that will connect wirelessly to make the installation much more simple. So you're not having to drill holes through the firewall. You connect the sensor up in the engine bay, connect it to your phone or in-cab module, and that's all you need to do.
Fantastic. So if you get a bad batch of fuel, bang, you're gonna know about it
straight away.
Fast. Yeah,
straight away.
So Alistair, I suppose the problems with cabin filtration are actually amplified when you're four-wheel driving.
Absolutely. Most people who routinely go four-wheel driving will experience unsealed roads. They may also drive in convoy, and so they're going to be experiencing very high concentrations of dust, which is going to end up in there through the HVAC system and into the cabin. Obviously you want not just the best filter media protecting your cabin, but you also want a cabin air filter that's actually designed to seal into the HVAC housing. And that's where we've added actual seals. We've fully boarded our filter, unlike a lot of the OE systems, which generally have unboarded filters that do heavily bypass when they're in operation.
Yeah, right, mate. And as someone who has, after 3 months later driving the Canning stock route, you turn on the aircon and get a nice little puff of red dirt into your face. It's, I'm glad you did that, thank you.
Given this vehicle will be loaded up when it's finished, I needed a suspension that was customised to suit that weight. It's incredible what a good suspension kit can do with your ride and handling. I caught up with Outback Armor Operations Manager Brian McMeekin to see what he recommends.
Okay, Brian, so the Everest, we're going to have a front bar on it, winch, long-range fuel tank under the belly, but this is a bit of a beach-themed vehicle, so it's more of a weekender, and it'll be carrying certainly less gear than the Ranger. What would you recommend suspension-wise?
So with this one, we still think we're going to go the DSVs in this car. The DSVs have got that control over the little bumps, which is the tracks to get into the beach, as well as it'll still be able to control the ride when you're doing the big whoops up and down the beach, and depending on how fast you want to go. So Fraser Island, 60, 70 k's an hour, sometimes along those beach with the big whoops in it as well. Whereas some of the ones a little bit further south, a little bit slower, but a lot more of the bumps in it, particularly the members of the 40 PSI club that don't want to let their tyres down, and you get those real corrugations down the beach. That's where the DSVs are going to control it.
Got it. Because, you know, you're asking a lot of your suspension.
Yeah, you are, and as well as that, you're stepping in and out of the ruts too. When you're driving down the beach and you get that real tail wag because you're not quite in the ruts, or someone else that's been driving a little bit strange down the beach as well. So you do get a lot of sideways movement, and particularly with a lot of people down the beach, they've got a roof rack on. They don't realise the weight they put in their rack as well. So you've got a lot of your weight up high, so it's trying to drag the car over as well. So it really helps out with that control.
Got it, got it. Now, we're talking about this being a beach build, but obviously this DSV suspension is going to handle deserts, gibber plains, the whole works burger.
Oh, corrugations, it is absolutely amazing. So it'll soak up those little bumps when you're just sitting there driving for hours and hours and hours. Northwest WA, we've just got those little corrugations that just vibrate the car, and then you come up again with a big washout or a big whoop, and it'll just grab the complete control of the vehicle.
Brilliant. So that's obviously the shock absorbers. And the springs, we're going to get a little bit of extra lift out of the vehicle.
Yeah, we're going to put about a 40mm lift in this car as well, so you can't go too high with it because otherwise you start compromising the droop, which means we're not going to get as much travel out of it, and it'll make it really firm in the front end as well. But you say you're not going to carry a lot of weight, but you've got an extra 80 kilos worth of fuel in the car and the tank, and then you've got 50 or 60 kilos worth of bull bar plus 30 odd kilos of winch, and then you and other people and camera gear and everything else that goes in the car. So there's always that extra 300 to 400 kilos that go into this.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Well, I better let you get to work so we can throw some gear in.
Let's get on it.
Still to come, we find some more power under the bonnet, plus a remote off-road christening as I drive to Australia's most remote beaches. When you accessorise the heck out of your 4x4, it's common for it not to feel quite as sprightly as it did before, which is why you find me at Diesel Care, which is Steinbauer HQ in Australia. These guys are renowned for finding extra kilowatts and newton meters under your bonnet. Gav's been helping me out with power since I was driving Datsuns, so I wondered what he could do with my fancy new Ford V6.
So Gav, we've got already a powerful vehicle in the Everest V6. What sort of advantages can I gain out of putting a performance module like the Steinbauer on it?
It's a good 20% increase in power and torque. In some spots in the graph we'll get more than that, but we tend to average it out as that sort of figure. And we know that's where it's safe. It's not going to cause customer grief if he puts his caravan on it, tows it around the country. So.
And what about that, mate? I mean, is there any sort of fail-safe built into the unit or anything in terms of not damaging the engine, given that we are putting in extra fuel?
Yeah, so we've got to work with inside the engine parameters, so the manufacturer's parameters and the ECU. So it has all its built-in protections. So we've got to work with inside all those figures. So if we were to take anything outside of them, obviously it logs codes and so forth. So you have that protection there, and that's what we do when we do the R&D on these things. We set them up and work out where we're at and make sure that we're working inside all those parameters.
Okay, so you're not actually changing the engine control module of the vehicle itself?
No, not at all. It stays standard. So if you were to unplug the unit, you're back to standard.
When you get a new car in, what's the development process of that, and what sort of relationship do you have with Steinbauer in Austria?
Yeah, so when the new vehicles come out, obviously we'll have a look at them ourselves, take some oscilloscope readings and so forth, and if we've got hardware already, then we'll design the mapping and so forth ourselves. Something like the Everest, where it's a new vehicle and a new engine, we get the guys from Steinbauer out, and we do the development with them. Our relationship with them goes back to 2005, so we've been working with those guys for a long time, and we usually get them out once a year. Obviously COVID's restricted that, but it's good that they were out here to do the development on this vehicle. Very impressed with it, and the results are great.
And what a result they got. Torque was increased to 890 newton meters, giving simply incredible pulling power. It was powerful before, but now it is next level.
It's very impressive, I have to say. It's the numbers that it pumps out standard, and for what we get it's one of the best that we've seen. It's for what it is and the size of the engine. It's very good.
I think what he's trying to say, folks, is this is actually getting more than a certain Toyota V8. So, yeah, but we won't talk about that. So Gav, in terms of the Australian place in the four-wheel drive touring industry, where do you think we sit worldwide?
Oh, you know, I've been lucky enough that I've been to a lot of different shows around the world and worked in the US for a bit. The Australian market's very big. It's very advanced. We're up there with the latest technology, and even the relationship with Ford and the fact that ARB are authorised supplier of aftermarket product says a lot for how the Australian market is and how it's respected around the world.
Now, all red-blooded four-wheel drivers love power, but what about economy, mate? I mean, what am I going to see there?
Yeah, so it really depends on what you're doing with the vehicle. In normal driving without a load on there, just normal run-of-the-mill up along the highway, you're not going to see a lot of difference in fuel economy, purely because the box is demand-driven. So while you're cruising down the highway, it's not doing a lot. You know, put your foot down to overtake, obviously you get that performance, but you're only on it short periods of time. But if you're towing and you're heavily loaded, you can see benefits in fuel. And it still depends on what you do with your right foot, but you know, there's benefits can be had if you drive the same way.
With my power demands well and truly solved, it was back to Sydney for a storage system. ORS were happy to help, and being a brand new model, my Everest was their first crack at the next gen. I take up the story with cabinet making and whip cracking legend, Graham Jones.
I love being an Australian manufacturer, and I've tried, with all of the product that we make here, we try, if we can't make it, we try to buy it within the country. There's a few things that you just physically can't, but that's always going to happen. But generally speaking, you know, everything here we make. You know, we make all our own drawers, we make our fridge slides, we make, you know, our water tanks, and we make everything ourselves if we can. It's not an easy task. There's a lot of pretty serious, cheap opposition out there, but we try to win by being better.
The great thing about dealing with ORS is that it's a collaborative effort, and having been in the game for years, Graham and the team have some great suggestions. But boy, did they smash it out of the ballpark. First up, I went for a low profile drawer so I could fit the Clearview Easy Slide and Engel 60th anniversary fridge. That drawer is the perfect size to fit my VRS recovery kit. While on the right hand side, I've got the regular size drawer, and they're all fitted with double runners. But my favourite feature has to be the stainless steel pull-out bench, which still allows access to the drawer. These drawers are a great design too, because if you happen to spill the sauce, the liners are removable for easy cleaning. Oh, and I needed a spot for the Red Arc Go block, so while it could have fit in the back, Graham offered to make a custom mount for it in the back seat footwell, where it fits just perfectly. What a beach tourer. Up next, we visit Red Arc and Engel. And then the rubber hits the road.